I've lived about a quarter of my life in France at this point, and a third of my life overall abroad. And over the course of the last almost 20 years of moving between the States and elsewhere, seeing quite the evolution of the conversation around what it means to be American, American influence, all these different things. I made a video about this last week a little bit, talking about how I felt like it was kind of punching down to be on this side of the Atlantic, looking back at the States and saying why I don't feel like I could ever move back. But one of the things that I've been really struggling with, and I think I've been grieving, is the disappearance of the America that I grew up with. One of the conversations that comes up all the time when you first move abroad is that those cultural differences, right? The conversation between, oh, well, in the States, it's like this, in France, it's like this, whatever country you're in, or if there are people like in Paris, it's very international, people coming from all over the world with their own takes on how to do everything from cheers at a table to cross the street to what customer service looks like to what healthcare should look like. When I was younger, that conversation actually got kind of tiresome. And I don't know if that conversation went away partially because I've lived here for so long and the majority of people I hang out with are here to live, like immigrants that have settled, or if it's something that we just kind of get away from as we adapt to the place that we are. Back when I had that conversation a lot more often, I got to the point where a lot of it was America bashing, to be honest. And I was still a fairly proud American at the time. I still was proud of where I came from. I believed in a number of the values that I was raised with. And so my take on it for a while was like, okay, you can complain about my country after you can name 10 things wrong with your own country. And so I, of course, had to have a list of 10 things on hand that I would complain about America, just to be like, hey, we can be self-aware, there's no perfect place, we can all learn from each other, we can all grow, but please don't just launch into hating my country because it's the punching bag of the week, or the punching bag of the decade, maybe the punching bag of the century, we'll find out. I actually wrote down a little list before I started because I was like, oh yeah, I wonder what I would say back then. It was kind of a mixture of what would I say back then to what would I say now, and I listed these as old complaints. So a lot of them feel obvious, whether it's healthcare, the cost of education, consumer debt, huge problem, violence, gun violence, public transportation, the lack thereof, mass incarceration, the deterioration of diplomacy, interventionism, insane tax code. The fact that I'm double taxed as an American French citizen is really fun, and the outlandish inequality. I think a couple of those I probably became more aware of after living abroad, but even just being American in America and then coming abroad, I already knew that there were some difficult things happening in the States. But now that this conversation has come up a little bit more recently with some new transplants and French people, I mean, honestly, because I do speak French, I end up meeting a lot of French people who don't really talk to a lot of Americans, haven't met very many, which is strange to me because in Paris you would think everyone would have met an American at this point. But I think they've met a lot of Americans who were here as tourists or who didn't really speak French. And so it opens the door to a lot of questions about, like, what is going on in your country? Is everything okay? Do you agree with what's happening here, there, all the other things? So I've circled back to this conversation that I haven't had that much recently. And I'm kind of self-conscious about it because in having the conversation and in my recent trips back to the States, I'm not so sure that my knee-jerk responses are accurate anymore. I think that a lot of my appeals to what America was for me, what I was raised with, and my lens through which I try to interpret the United States is a lens that's being focused on an America that no longer exists. This is a bizarre experience, and I have a handful of things that I'm going to share with you that have really changed for me along these ways, things that I'm kind of grieving right now. And I was just talking about this in therapy with my therapist, and thankfully she is very aware of everything that's going on in the world. And she really wants to dig in a couple of weeks because she can tell I'm kind of angry. I'm very sad right now, and that sadness is generating some anger about so many things that are going on in the world, and it's been very difficult. And it's kind of a weird, exhausting period right now. And if you happen to be feeling that way and you're looking for somebody to talk to and you don't have a therapist yet, or you're looking for a new one, maybe you live in a small French village and nobody even speaks English and you'd like to do therapy in English, the paid partner of this video is BetterHelp, and thankfully so, because I am definitely a huge fan of therapy and connecting people as best as we can. It's very hard to get access to it. I have a handful of friends now, because BetterHelp's support to my channel, that have ended up starting their therapy journeys through it and have had good experiences. And for me, the most important thing is to try and connect people with the therapy they need. The reason that I like BetterHelp as somebody who lives abroad is not only because it connects you to a wide variety of people that you might not otherwise have access to, but they make it very easy to hop from person to person. A lot of the people in my life have struggled to find the right therapist over the course of months or years, and that can be a very expensive and time-consuming process. And BetterHelp makes that a lot easier by having a no questions asked, easy process for moving between providers until you find the person that's right for you. If you would like to get started with BetterHelp today, you can do so by using my link below, betterhelp.com/jswanson, for 10% off your first month. They've been a longtime supporter of my channel and are set to support me for the future as well. I really appreciate that support. And I very much appreciate the support that I've gotten through therapy over the years, which is something that's going to come up quite a lot in the follow-up to this book, Sea of the Unknown. I haven't made a video really diving into the new book yet, but so much of the new book is about facing the demons that I had to when I landed here in France, got settled, and have taken my time. Like, this book is all about how I got here. I mean, you can buy this right now if you want to. It's a very A to Z journey. But maybe part of the reason that I'm thinking about all of this is this new book, as I'm working on finishing it up, the edits, as I'm reflecting on my childhood, on my life, on so many things that I have dove into thanks to therapy. I'm reflecting on a lot of the structures and ways I saw the world that were built in an America that may not have existed at the time, and certainly doesn't exist today. So some of the ways that I see that now are, well, let's see, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe these are more myths that are being deconstructed for me, but these are areas that I really thought, especially when I was moving abroad, that I was making maybe a bad choice. Like, oh, I'm going to France, and the first one was opportunities. Everybody tells you how the opportunities are better in America, they're worse abroad, they're worse here, etc. And for me, I found that to be completely untrue. I was working so hard in the States to make something work, and I just could not make anything happen. Me moving here was kind of a desperation move, and it hasn't been easy. I've definitely struggled. If you've been following along for a long time, you know a lot of the hardships that have come with opening a business here, transitioning that business into something else, just trying to survive, pay my people, and make it through things like the Olympics, which were a ton of fun, but really hurt at the same time. And at the end of all of that, I really do feel like I've built a career for myself that would have been harder to do in the States. I think a lot of what's been made available to me has been made available simply because I am living abroad. My hard drive is freaking out right now, and it's really distracting. Jeff and I did coaching a couple years ago, and our coach, who's in Canada, when he found out that we were in France, or that I was in France, he's like, why would you do that? Like, you should be here. The money is here. And I think that's true for some people. I just think that's true for fewer and fewer people. I think the opportunities in the States are very clearly drying up, and the divide between haves and have-nots is getting very, very big. And it seems dramatic, at least from here in the States. The second thing was the one that's maybe a little bit more universally, my dog is in my lap right now, and he's very upset that I'm not giving him my elbow to sleep on. He's a very sleepy little guy right now. And he would definitely agree with this next one, customer service. Here, you can just be up here. I'll give you some scritches at the bottom of the screen. One of the things that we always argue about being better in the States, and that I tend to compare all of my experiences with here, is the American experience that I grew up with in the States. The friendliness, the activeness, whether it's on the phone or like getting an easy refund for something, or like, obviously I do find service in restaurants in the States to be a little bit overwhelming now, especially after having lived abroad for so long. But when I go back, I don't find the customer service to be all that great anymore. In fact, when Lindsay and I were in New York, we were complaining about it because everywhere we went, it felt like customer service was terrible. Like, bare minimum, let me give you your thing, please give me 30% tip. Service in France, I mean, obviously it's different. You have to get used to effectively feeling like you're ignored, but the ethos is different. They're not dancing for your tips, and they earn a living wage. They're here to do a job. It's a profession. They also want to just leave you to have a good time. You're not going to get pressured to leave. There's some cultural differences there. And that's what the conversation used to be about. But now I feel like even though customer service isn't always great, we went to a bar last night where the service was pretty bad. And that's actually what knocked them off me thinking about adding them to my guide. At the same time, overall, I have a good time when I'm out. I'm not worried about it. I tend to be at ease, relaxed. I enjoy how things operate here. I feel like I generally get what I'm out for. And the service that I receive may not be quite as friendly and over the top, might not be always on point. Obviously, a fine dining experience, like I'm going to a dinner tonight, will be much different. And at a high level, like cocktail bar, like we were at last night, you would expect the service to be better, which is why I dinged them for that. But you go to a dive bar, your average wine bar, a street food place, I don't know, like everything here, yeah, maybe it's not what I remember customer service being in the States, but after recent trips back to the States, I think it's fine here, comparable if better, to be honest. And so I don't really want to appeal to that, especially when you see AI taking over like customer chat and phones and all these other things. I feel like the experience when I have to deal with American services is just getting worse all the time. And while I still bemoan the state of French customer service and think it could be better, I don't think it's an apples to oranges comparison anymore. Like, oh, America. I think it's fallen off a cliff. A really big one with this as well that kind of ties into everything possibly is quality of life. I remember as a kid, this is going to be old man yelling at cloud a little bit, but you know, as a kid, I walked to school. I got to go play in the park with my friends. We played on the street. We ran around. We kind of had the run of the place. And maybe this is like idyllic small town America. You know, maybe that didn't exist everywhere. But when I go back now, it doesn't look like it exists anywhere. I was thinking about this morning because I was out jogging to the gym and I got up a little bit later, so everybody was getting up. Usually I get up early enough that the trash collectors are the only people that are out and about, which is great because you don't have to compete with cars and kids. But this morning the kids were out and it just slews and slews of children going to school, only some parents around. And it does feel like, I don't know what it's like to have kids here or what it's like to be a kid here. I've taught in schools, but there's just an element of a sense of safety that doesn't exist when I go back to the States. It just does not feel the same. The quality of life in the States also, I think, like in a lot of ways, what I appeal to when I think of is the affordability of just all sorts of gadgets and gizmos. You know, France was really poor before World War II. After the war, it took a long time for them to catch up. I remember reading statistics in one of the books I was reading recently about how, you know, in the 60s and 70s, people would have one appliance. Like they might have a stove, a refrigerator, the kinds of things that American households were filling themselves with. And there's some big cultural disparities as a result. Some of the big ones include like not getting ice in your drinks and air conditioning or the lack thereof. These are things that we think of classically as being cultural differences. They have economic roots. I don't know exactly what the cultural roots always are. The French do think that you can get sick if there's a cold breeze that blows past you, which will drive me crazy until the end of time. Basically like miasma theory, but for temperature. But honestly, when I go back to the States, sure, people have more stuff and bigger spaces, but it feels kind of soulless in a way to me now. It feels like new and temporary. And the food, like when we talk about the quality of the food, when we talk about what you get for what you pay for, when we talk about so many elements that I think of when it comes to quality of life, public transportation, being able to get around, the affordability of like even things like healthcare, which I blessedly do not have to worry about too much personally, but nobody's going bankrupt over healthcare concerns here in Europe. And while there are affordability issues, things are not perfect here. There's some really tight and difficult times here. People are struggling in their own ways, for sure. For sure. I can't ever, now Macron has ruined that phrase for me. You know, and there's a lot to figure out on this side. I just can't imagine sacrificing what I have here to pay more for what I perceive to be less in the United States. And so when people come here and they're like, but what, you don't have X, Y, or Z, I'm kind of like, yeah, but I don't necessarily need those things. I don't need a higher salary in exchange for insane insurance premiums, both health and car maintenance. The cost of groceries is insane. When I was in San Diego, I went to buy some chips and salsa to bring to my sister's house, like some fresh deli salsa and some chips. I expected it to cost like $7 or $8, and it cost me $15 for just two things. And like for me, here in Paris, my grocery bill is maybe $60 a week, you know? As a single guy who does eat out a lot, sure, but still, And that kind of brings me to my last 2 points, which are a little bit linked together. One of them, I've always been really proud of the power of the American press, the fourth estate, the transparency, the ability to dig in, to investigate, to push. I really have always admired investigative journalism. You know, in the modern YouTube era, I really admire video essayists, the people that really dig in and try to help you understand what's going on through research, statistics, and holding power to account. I see the steady erosion of that, like the shuttering of local newspapers, small news outlets as far as television news, local news, everything being funneled through just a few major outlets, like the talking points are all homogenizing. There's a real danger in the deterioration of the press. And I still admire the people that are putting in the hard work and trying to bring the truth to light so much. I really appreciate their work. I just see how much harder it's getting, and I'm worried about the institutional failures, and I'm worried that, I'm very worried about it as a whole, which makes me very worried for the future. I used to think that a lot of Europeans would ask me, why are you here? French people all the time, they don't ask this as much anymore, but they used to ask all the time, why would you come this way? Why would you come to France? Like, we all want to go that way. Not all of them, but so many people wanted to go to the States for what they saw. Better opportunities, more interesting jobs, like the sciences, the arts, so many things that were so bright and shining. And for me, I agreed. I saw, there's a lot going on over there. I think a lot of the biggest, most interesting, exciting things are happening there. But for me personally, there's something that's drawing me here. And what I'm wanting to do with my life, I think might be more easily pursued, or at least more satisfyingly pursued, in France. And I don't think I was wrong about that for me personally. What is making me very sad is that I might have been wrong about the bright future for others in the States. America is a very hard and challenging place. It's built on skeletons. Like, the US has a very, very dark history. The institution of slavery was only abolished like halfway through our history ago, pretty much, and then was followed on by all kinds of other horrible institutions. There's so many things that are so easy to overlook. This is why I'm really struggling, and I think I'm grieving to some degree, is whatever it was that I was raised with. Like, I'm appealing to like the 90s, basically. I've known for a long time that's not been the same. I mean, my generation, like, I've accepted the fact that I don't think I'll ever be able to afford to buy a house. You know, I don't believe that whatever money I were to save for retirement would even be there by the time I got there. Like, the economic realities and so forth have been on my radar since shortly after college, right? Since the crash, really, in 2007, 2008. But in a weird way, I kind of thought maybe it was still going to be good for other people. Like, I internalized it as if America just wasn't going to work out for me, and the future was going to be hard for me, so I needed to make some changes and some adjustments, and maybe I'd be okay. And now I'm worried that it might be a more universal fate. I don't want to leave it on that note, because I do believe that there's so much potential, both in the States and just with us as humans, that there is so much good that we can do, so many amazing things we can accomplish, so many things we were accomplishing. We're taking so many steps backwards right now, but the cool thing is that we had taken steps forward. And a lot of the systems and institutions we were moving forward with were very imperfect. We're seeing just how corrupt and miserable so many of them really were. Right now in real time, we're finding out all kinds of horrible things that were always there, and that were definitely, we could feel, but maybe we didn't know exactly what to put our finger on. So then I have a sense of hope in the idea that maybe we can get through this. We can build new, we can build better, and we can sprint towards a future that's brighter for all of us. And that's what's hard. I think for me it was easier to swallow a pill where I was like, well, my life has always been kind of hard and miserable. That's also what the second book is about, right? Is facing that and coming to terms with it, and then figuring out what to do with it. And what I'm struggling with now is realizing, oh, it might be hard for a lot of people. Like, it might really be hard for a lot of other people who I thought were probably going to be fine. It's a weird thing to find yourself grieving, but when I sat down to start this video, I actually just lost all my energy, because I am processing this in real time and trying to figure out how to share that with you, trying to figure out how to engage with this. And I don't really know what the right answer is, especially because for me, I think so much of what I get to offer on this channel is an escape, and is, well, you know, the whole point of this channel was always just to document my life. I was talking with my therapist about it, to circle back to her. She was asking about this and about what it's like to share my life this way, what it's like to be public and to put things in print that are scary and vulnerable. And I told her that, a big part of the benefit of it is this sense of the freest person in the room is the one that has no secrets. I feel like I've had to throw myself out there so much to share so much of my life because I didn't even know if my life was really worth living. And a lot of the things that I thought people would reject me for, I just needed to see and to put it out there and see what came back my way. And so much of vlogging for me has been this mixture of confessional and therapy in a lot of ways. It's like, all right, well, here I am. Here I am. I was never accepted for who I was by the people I was raised by the community I was a part of. If I can't put myself out on the internet and find people who accept me as I am, then I really am lost. And I was very lucky to find people who accepted me as I was. So this channel has been so much about just like building a record in case anybody ever cared, right? Let me just make these videos. Even if nobody watches, I'm gonna believe that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'll have done something with my life that's gonna be worth checking out at least. And now there will be this record for anybody who wants to dig in to go and see like, oh, if that guy could make it, maybe I could too. If I can give somebody a little sense of hope, then I think that I've lived a life worth living in that way, which is good because a lot of my life has not felt like it's been one that has been worth living. And so I struggle with now because I'm like, okay, well, so much of that has taken the form of like, here's my journey getting to Paris, here's my journey surviving in Paris, here's where I'm at as a person, and just sharing that with you in hopes that whether it helps you have a better trip to Paris and you have a good time here, or helps you move here, or you can't make it here, but it helps you to feel like, there is hope for your future. I was in a very hopeless place for a very long time, and I managed to get out of it. That's all I can really offer. I can't tell you how to get out. I can't be your friend and sit on the couch with you and give you the hug that you deserve, because that's just not how the world works. But I have the gift of being able to share at least this through this camera. And this has been a big part of what I've been processing for years now. How do I share more, and how do I encourage better? And I don't fully know, but hopefully this helps to some degree. And I think a big part of the reason that it's important that while I don't exactly know how to engage with the world at large, in so many ways, the more that we're able to communicate amongst ourselves, the more that we're able to encourage each other, the more that we're able to look and say, hey, I'm here to clean up my corner of the world, and I'm going to do the best I can and to include you in that if you are able to be included in that. But if I can encourage you to go clean up your corner of the world a little bit too, the more of us that are cleaning up our corners of the world, the more corners of the world we'll have in which to grow and to enjoy. And I think that might be it. I think that's the main thing. But I'm going to keep thinking on it. Sounds like my neighbor just dropped a whole bunch of bags in the hallway. Anyways, thanks to Colin M. Gordon, today's patron producer, all my patrons for being with me for the long haul. I still haven't really made a hard push for this. I keep saying this at the end of videos. I'll put a link below. You can pre-order the new book and bundle it with this one if you want. March 26th, we're going to be having a pre-launch party, just trying to have a fun time, hype it up, get some fun stuff in your hands, because that Paris passport that we're working on, which is a little scavenger hunt that I'm planning for around the city, a la the game that I ran in 2019. We're going to try and get those in your hands by mid-April, in April or sooner, depending on how long it takes to get to you in this global postal chaos that we live in. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. If you're not, I get it. I'm having a really bad day today. I'm feeling very sad, kind of angry. I'm grieving, and I would like to take that energy and use it productively and positively. And I hope that I can encourage you to do the same thing, wherever it is you are. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. This one's a little bit longer today because I just figured I'd go with how I feel and share a little bit from the heart before I go on a little bit of a break. I'm trying to be very good and take a week off. I'm trying to be very French, almost French school kid good. Like they take 2 weeks off every 2 months. I'm trying to take 1 week off every 2 months to rest, because believe it or not, all of this is so exhausting. I'm having a really good time, but I'm so tired with the vlogging and the writing and the editing and everything. So I'm going to try and take a week off and do the minimum amount of work possible, a little staycation, and I will see you bright and early in March with some more vlogs, and I will do a better job of directly promoting the books. And Patreon, the things that I'm supposed to be promoting the most. Thank you so much for watching. I will go take a nap, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.